Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaron Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. We're here back at you once again in the mistake zone. And Matt, I think there was one mistake living, would you say, rent-free in your head for the last week?
Jaron, I gotta apologize to the people that were listening to last week's podcast. I realized as I was editing it, I made a quite the classic mistake zone mistake. Jaron, when we were talking about, or I guess more specifically, when I was talking about Armored Core last week, I was fully thinking of the wrong game. I don't know what game I was thinking of anymore, but like after that episode, I decided to just like, oh, I wonder how like Armored Core 6 is going to be in the future, so I decided to go look at some gameplay. Jaron, I was thinking of the fully wrong game. I was watching the gameplay, I was like, oh, this is not the game I was thinking of, Jaron. Armored Core is basically just like Virtual On, and now I'm actually a lot more excited about Armored Core 6.
See, Matt, when I think about mech games, two come to mind, and I'm not sure if they're the appropriate mech games to come to mind. The first one being Mech Assault, and the second one being Zone of the Enders. Were any of those two the games you were thinking of?
I don't think so. See, I was thinking that Zone of the Enders was not Ace Combat, damn. Armored Core.
Right.
I think I was mixing those two up with each other.
Okay.
But, yeah.
See, Matt, that whole conversation, I was too busy thinking about Custom Robo, and I certainly believe one day Nintendo is going to bring that back.
Jaron, I tried playing the Custom Robo that came out for, I can't remember if it was the 3DS or the DS, but couldn't get into it. I tried playing the Little Battlers Experience, which was supposed to be the spiritual successor to Custom Robo. Couldn't get into that either.
Matt, I believe the only Custom Robo, I'm not actually sure how many Custom Robos there have been, but I believe you let me borrow your GameCube copy, I want to say, way back in the day, and me and my brother were really into that game.
Jaron, I love that game.
I'm actually surprised. We all know that there are a lot of things that are in the Nintendo Vault that surprise me for not making some sort of return. But Custom Robo remains one of those games where I definitely thought that when the Switch was, being announced and we were getting a rollout of all these games that Custom Robo would, okay, maybe this is my rhythm game bias, and I also did think that Elite Beat Agents would also be a good fit in this handheld and console hybrid. But unfortunately, we all saw what actually happened, and a lot of Wii U ports ended up happening. So I don't know, Matt. I still believe that one day we'll see that Custom Robo release. But
Gotta believe.
But yeah, I think I was actually, going through our TGA episode last week, or at least the TGA portion, and listening to a lot of different, outlets, podcasts, video, content creators cover the event. And yeah, the more I think about Armored Core 6, the more I'm really curious just to see how it's basically repeating what we said last week. But I guess, Matt, now with the knowledge of what Armored Core actually is, that excitement or curiosity is a bit hidden for you. But Matt, there was something that was another TGA adjacent announcement, or at least topic, that you wanted to cover this week.
Yes.
Matt, what's on your mind with Diablo?
Jaron, a little bit after the TGA happened, the Diablo dev team did their quarterly update, but this time they switched over to a live stream instead of doing their usual just like text-based update on their website. And Jaron, I want to know what you think about this, because this is one of the things that they announced during that live stream, which is that they're doing a collector's box of Diablo 4, which has the usual stuff: an art book, an electric candle that just like lights up,
right?
That has like Lilith and Inarius on it, It has a like cloth map. It comes in this like big box. It looked at least like a 24 like inch box.
Yep.
When they were showing it on the stream, and it comes with no copy of the game.
Matt, this has been something that has popped up here and there. I think one of the first instances of, oh, they're releasing a collector's edition that doesn't actually come with the game in question. I believe, for me personally, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, the sequel or pre-sequel, whatever you want to call it, for Mirror's Edge, I believe that was another instance of, hey, pay us $200 for a bunch of merch, and this doesn't include the game. And I'm not sure personally why this trend continues to happen, just because I feel like a lot of the time it is really just headline baiting, clickbait kind of inducing to kind of inform people, hey, look at this game coming out, this super expensive collector's edition. It doesn't even come with the game. And I feel like that, in some sick and twisted way, has become part of a few games, their marketing push, or one of their marketing beats, where, hey, let's announce all this collector's edition. Let's get some additional headlines saying, oh, it doesn't actually come with the game. And since the barrier to entry is pretty high, and it is specifically for the diehard fans, I don't think, other than the additional headlines, it does really anything for sales or whatnot. Because again, no one actually cares unless you're really deep into Diablo. And I guess for a tried and true franchise like Diablo, I think they're able to get away with it just because it has the history. You can have a lot more different merch and collectibles to come out of it, where when I actually think back to Mirror's Edge, that was a head scratcher, just because it's, okay, this is a cult favorite game. There is a following, but at the same time, does it have enough legacy, I guess, to be able to carry a no game collector's edition? I know this might sound like me being a apologist for the practice. I think it's actually really dumb. And again, the cynic in me is, oh, they're just trying to do this for one or two extra headlines in the overall gaming conversation. But yeah, I still think it's really dumb. And when I did see that passed around, once again, the tried and true, it doesn't even come with the game. I can't help but roll my eyes now, just because I don't know, it's just really dirty to me, really icky to me, just because you're trying to squeeze out another $200 on top of the, let's say 60 for now, when it can be even more, just for Diablo 4. But Matt, when they announced the super special edition without the game, what was going through your head?
I was not interested in it. I honestly don't think that collector's edition is particularly good.
Right.
I think even if it was, so it's $96.66 US.
Of course.
And I thought that was low because I thought it was coming with the game. But I feel like even if the game came in there, I don't really think that it's that good of a collector's edition. I'm also not a fan of like having all that kind of like bulky stuff either.
Right.
But I mean, the box itself looks nice. But Jaren, for the Canadian people who want to get this game, I don't know if you saw like this as well. I feel particularly bad for them in the shipping department.
Oh no. How is it, Matt?
Because Jaren, okay, so when you convert the price over to Canadian, the collector's edition box is $134. Jaren, the shipping is $114.
So I guess
still no game.
we're both not buying this collector's edition, Matt. But
Jared, I'm only going to spend that much on merch shipping if I'm buying HoloLive bullshit.
And at that point, I need a lot of different HoloLive bullshit to kind of. Plus, I would need to go in with a friend, such as yourself, to try to offset that shipping cost. Ah, man. When I think about
Jared,
yes.
Jared, I'm gonna go in on a Hololive shipment soon, so just in case you want to go in on that,
Matt,
I'm gonna order it this week.
all right. Keep me posted, Matt, because I might let you know. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I think the mistake zone is a valid place for us to talk about this. Speaking about HoloLive merch, Matt, I know we talked about previously our recent HoloLive shipment,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm currently surrounded by all my HoloLive wall scrolls, my
Nice.
wall tapestry. And Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I believe I spoke about this on air before or on the pod about the wall scrolls that I bought from, I believe it was the time of the Akihabara collaboration or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently staring at my Hollow Stars wall scroll and my HoloLive ID wall scroll. And Matt,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, unlike the Hollow Live Super Expo 2002 wall scroll, these ones came folded up.
Oh,
And I assume they were just folded up for the last year
damn.
because we all know how long this took to get shipped to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I unfolded everything, one, it was a pain to put together. But two, after being folded for so long, I'm looking at all the different, crusts and grievances there.
Uh-huh.
And I remember the night I received it, I talked to you asking, man, do you know how to get out the creases in a wall scroll? And you, being a good friend, linked me to a few Reddit threads that suggested, hey, try using a hand steamer or try using an iron on the lowest setting. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a hand steamer.
Damn.
I do have an iron.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the trick where, okay, put it on the lowest setting or put it on, delicates. You can do it with a t-shirt in between the iron and the wall scroll itself if you're really paranoid, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Tried all those.
Uh-huh.
Tried with the shirt, tried without the shirt. Tried on low, tried with delicates. I'm still looking at these creases,
Damn.
these crevices, Matt.
Damn.
And it's really annoying. Hollow ID fans know. It's especially bad because Anya is on the bottom middle of the thing, and there's just a cross crease going,
Damn.
horizontally and vertically. Man,
Mm-hmm.
feels bad. Poor Anya, and her folded face.
Yeah. I'm still surprised that they folded a wall scroll.
I'm not a fan because for behind the scenes, I guess you ordered all the HoloFest stuff, and that went to your place, and you saw that the tapestry I was talking about, it was rolled up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was fully expecting that as well. But nope, unfortunately, got them folded up, had to unfold them up, and then do the stupid thing of putting the plastic cylinder through the cloth, but then putting the rope through the plastic cylinder. I don't know. It was a pain, man. It was a pain.
Damn.
And if anyone knows how I can get these creases out of these wall scrolls, let me know. But feels bad, Matt.
Rip.
Feels real bad.
Rip.
But yeah, Matt, let me know. My desk is full of acrylic pictures that I can always add a few more, Matt.
Yeah.
Can always add
Yo, Jared.
a few more.
After the show, yo, we'll talk.
Oh, the pains of our mistakes, Matt. But at least we're surrounded by our funny anime people.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt,
Yo.
speaking about funny anime people,
Mm-hmm.
I think we owe it to our 10-year-old selves, and we need to discuss some important news that was shared this week, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about how the Pokemon Company announced on December 16th that a brand new anime series featuring 2 new characters named Liko and Roy and the 3 Paldea starters will begin in 2023, Crunchyroll reports, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt,
Uh-huh.
you might be wondering, how do you start a new Pokemon series, a new Pokemon, television event while we still have our boy Ash Ketchum and his best bud Pikachu?
Mm-hmm.
But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
leading up to the premiere, Ash and Pikachu will have 11 final episodes of Pokemon Ultimate Journeys, the series, which will begin to air starting January 13th in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
our boy has done it. I remember, what was it, last November, he finally became Pokemon champion. And I believe after 25 years, the story of Ash and Pikachu will come to an end in 2023.
Uh-huh.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
as a child in the fourth grade who remembered holding on to his Pokemon toys, holding on to that weird Game Boy. Remember that little Game Boy thing that came with some of the Pokemon toys that had the little ball on top, and if you press the screen, the ball would shoot
Oh,
out?
yeah.
I remember holding that and watching that first episode of Pokemon. Ash trying to vibe with Pikachu. They're not gelling together, and him ultimately running in the rain, trying to make sure that his Pikachu is all right, trying to get him to a Poke Center. And at that end of the episode, we see that mystical bird that everyone on the schoolyard had their own hot takes of regarding what that bird is named.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
25 years later, that journey comes to an end. And when you saw that announced this week, what was your immediate reaction?
Jaren, my immediate reaction to them starting this new Pokemon journey with new Pokemon characters or main characters
Yes.
was, I'm surprised that Go isn't the one the series is going to be about now.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just generally, it seemed like they were really hyping up Go as one of like Ash's longtime friends, and
Okay.
just the way that he actually caught Pokemon seemed like, oh
Right.
yeah, this guy's obviously going to be the next protagonist if they ever get rid of Ash. And I was just so surprised that they are doing it with two brand new characters.
Okay. How do you feel about the names Liko and Roy?
Yo, Jaren, Roy's our boy.
Of course, Matt. The moment I saw this, I thought, I know this is the Pokemon company, but Nintendo has some sort of hand in it. And man, Matt, Nintendo loves that name, Roy.
Guy, oh man, I love Roy's our boy.
So good, Matt. But at the same time, I'm really hoping that these 11 final episodes come to North America in some degree. I know.
Jaren, I'm gonna weeb it up and just watch it. So 100%.
Of course, same. But yeah, I believe it's called Pokemon Journeys, the latest whatever incarnation of whatever the Pokemon series is right now is currently available through Netflix. So I would guess that it would come here as well,
Yeah.
but nothing confirmed. But yeah, Matt, when you're telling me something is ending, of course I need to go all in on this. And we'll have some Mistake Zone episodes covering this. But yeah, I don't know, Matt, I think one of my first thoughts was, oh yeah, Ash is still at it. He's still out there trying to catch the Pokemon, but I guess with everyone getting hyped with his big Pokemon Championship win last fall, I think, yeah, you have to end his story sooner or later. Where else can you go when you're already at the top, Matt? And to what degree do you think Ash and Pikachu will show up in future Pokemon, I guess, media in general? Do you save him as a quick cameo? Do you present him as a big character threat? I don't know, Matt. When you have a character with 25 years of history behind them, I know you have to say goodbye to them, but like, how do you really maintain that character moving forward? Or how would you like to see Ash and Pikachu portrayed just in general when it comes to the Pokemon anime in the future?
To be honest, one of the things that I was actually very surprised at on the that initial, I guess, screen of the two main characters and the three Paldean starters was that Pikachu wasn't in it. Like, I'm just so surprised that even up till now, because it's been, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days since this news dropped, and I'm just so surprised that there isn't any mention at all of Pikachu, or like just showing a Pikachu in general. But I feel like, as far as Ash goes, I would really like him to not appear during, I guess, the first season of this new show.
Right.
Or if he does show up, it either just sets up, I think one of the things I'm like very curious about is when this show takes place.
Yeah.
Like, I would want them to either do something like, okay, here is Ash on like TV and he's doing a battle, and it'll show you, oh, Ash is like, oh, he's in his 20s, he's in his 30s, he's in his like 50s or whatever, just to establish where he is. Because I do think that no matter what, Ash has to show up for a cameo at some point. But like, I don't want him to be there really like as a major thing. Yeah, other than like maybe one at the start or just not at all. As far as like Ash goes.
Yeah, I feel like you need to save Ash for something special, and you can't blow your load in the first season with something like that.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, you brought something up, Matt, when you said that you were surprised that there was no Pikachu. I guess, to popular culture, Pikachu is the de facto Pokemon. And I'm really curious. One, do you think of the three Paldea starters you have? Do you think those three Pokemon have some sort of staying power to, remain consistent? Or do you think there's a missed opportunity not to have some sort of iconic, hey, here's the Pokemon, or here's the next Pokemon? Just because I feel like when you leave out Pikachu, I don't know, if you don't have Pikachu, to me, and maybe it's because I haven't really played Violet and Scarlet, when I look at this will sound unfair, but when I look at those three Pokemon, I think, oh, okay, how long realistically is Liko and Roy's story going to be? Just because, again, this has been the story of Ash and Pikachu for the most part. And if you have two new characters with the three Paldea Pokemon, do those three Paldea Pokemon have what it takes to carry maybe not necessarily 25 years of content, but like a few seasons? Because do you have them evolve at some point? If they evolve, do they lose their cute mascot features or appearance? Do you know where I'm coming from? That I feel like without a Pokemon that won't evolve, you miss out on some, trying to prolong their appearance in some way. But that's kind of my twisted view on it. But what are your thoughts on that?
I kind of think they're going to stick with their usual thing of whenever Ash gets the starters for whatever region,
Yeah.
they always seem to go through a one stays at base, one stays at the second level, and then one fully evolves.
Right.
So that's what I fully expect to happen with these three Pokemon. I also don't expect these characters to stay around for longer than one season.
Right.
I almost expect them to, every new region is a new protagonist or protagonists.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'm just getting that vibe because of Power Rangers. Because I feel like that's what they did as well.
Right, that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like for me personally, there is no... When you tell me that this is Liko and Roy's story, that's a different tale. Because to me, the Pokemon story isn't, oh, it's Ash, Misty, and Brock. It was always Ash and Pikachu. And I don't know, I feel like there isn't a Pokemon counterpart when I looked at all of the teaser art or like the visuals for the next Pokemon series with Liko and Roy. So maybe that's just me. And again, maybe I'm just outside of the Pokemon space right now, where maybe to those inside that space, this makes total sense. But for me personally, I don't see a mascot Pokemon that can carry alongside the protagonist 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons like Ash did. Then again, Ash and Pikachu, that's a once in a generation, a once in a lifetime pairing that you can't necessarily recreate. So why actually try to recreate that? You told that story already. Might as well, as you said, tell the story of all these new trainers whenever a new generation hits, whenever a new region opens up. But I probably won't check it out, to be honest, Matt. But
No.
those final episodes of Ash and Pikachu's story, once again, Matt, I owe it to my 10-year-old self to see this through. But I guess I also owed it to my 10-year-old self to watch Ash win the big one. And it's something that I watched clips here and there, but never really sat through. But Matt, as someone with more Pokemon expertise than myself, what are your final thoughts on Ash and Pikachu going off into the sunset and Liko and Roy kind of picking up where he leaves off?
one of the things that I heard for the final 11 episodes, which I also told you about, Jared, is that apparently he's gonna go visit all his old Pokemon.
Matt,
Jared,
oh, you can't do that.
I cannot wait. I can't wait until he meets
Matt,
Butterfree
I'm gonna,
and the other pink Butterfree.
I'm going to ugly cry hard when, again, Matt, I've only watched the really early of Ash's journey. So there, from when I stopped watching Pokemon anime to now, there's a whole bunch of Pokemon that he's said goodbye to that I'm not even aware of. But Matt, when he gets to the Pokemon and friends that I am aware of, ugly crying, 100%, 100%.
Oh man, I'm still salty that the shiny version of Butterfree isn't the pink Butterfree. That made me so mad when I saw the shiny Butterfree for the first time. But like,
That's insane. That was also something that really stuck out to me as well. I feel like it was right there. It's essentially canon through the anime, but I guess we all know how Ho-Oh turned out as well.
I really kind of hope that they like Ash isn't gonna like come back at all for like as a mainstay of the series, but I kind of hope that Team Rocket comes back in like some
Oh, just
capacity.
Jesse and James?
Yeah, possibly Jesse James, like Meowth, and then like them like just kind of becoming the through line. If they do the kind of changing the protagonist every region, I totally wouldn't mind Jesse and James being the through line of all those series.
Oh, that would be so good, Matt. I too actually hope that now that you put that out in the open, that would be so good. As a fan of Jesse James and Meowth growing up, I would love to see for that to happen. But yeah, Matt, I'm gonna ugly cry so hard, Matt.
Jared safe.
Before we close off, what's the ED to the final episode of Ash and Pikachu's Adventures?
I feel like in the English version, it has to be the very, very first theme song, right?
It has to be, Matt. Has to be.
That already do the Pokemon.
I don't actually need the lyrics to the Poké Rap. Just give me the instrumental to it.
Man.
Running over the credits, Matt, I feel like
That'd be so good.
depending on what the ED is to Ash and Pikachu's adventures would make or break it for me. Again, I feel like it won't necessarily be earned for me because there is such a... When you say they've been at it for 25 years, maybe I've watched the first 3 or 4, so there's still 2 decades worth of content that I don't actually have any knowledge of, but that ED will make or break it for me. And if it doesn't appeal to someone who only watched the first few seasons, then what's the actual point now?
No, I feel that.
I can't wait for our post Ash and Pikachu's adventures discussion, Matt. I believe that's going to be some quality podcasting.
Yep.
So, Matt, now that we're still on this anime train, I feel like there are a few anime news tidbits that I want to go through this week. Again, Matt, just to fulfill that anime quota that we have on the Mistake Zone. Matt, this week we saw the finale of Arknight's Prelude to Dawn, the Arknight's anime. I wasn't actually, maybe I read this before that it was kind of a mini series, a mini season, but 8 episodes. One had to give my chef kiss moment of the week, in that the OP for episode 8 has a slight change. Essentially, in the OP, we have Amiya going, essentially really angry, really hostile towards a certain character that appears in the anime. But in episode 7, we get this big reveal, something about that character, and that's reflected in the episode 8 OP, where Amiya doesn't look hostile, but she actually looks, instead of her eyes glaring, they're just like open in shock, and Matt, love when OPs do that.
Good setup.
It's a good setup, but yeah, Studio Yostar Pictures announced Arknight's Perish in Frost in a video stinger that aired during the 8th and final episode of Arknight's Prelude to Dawn. Scylla Corneria. I could never say that website's name properly, but they report. But yeah, Matt, that's coming up. For the most part, I really did enjoy Arknight's Prelude to Dawn. Maybe it's just because I had that like that attachment based on the Arknight's game itself. Plus, my
Hmm.
girl W, she showed up here and there. I know the first time we talked about how her appearance was a bit jarring to anime only fans. But every now and then, when she did show up in Prelude to Dawn, it was her smug kind of. I don't know. I just loved how she was portrayed throughout the season. And considering what the next season is called, Perish in Frost, I think I have an inkling of what the story beats that will focus around and what characters they'll also introduce there. Um, my only recommendation to some of the anime only fans who think, oh, maybe I'll pick up the game finally because there are some characters that show up in, the anime and I
Hmm.
want to add them to my squad. Again, things characters such as W, they're limited operators where you do have to kind of really luck into it or spend a quite a bit now to hard pity them or get a selector ticket for them when a limited event does come around. But there are Arknights is a game where a lot of characters that are present in the kind of main story and a lot of the event stories, a good handful of them do have been released as operators that you could roll and play with. But I'm actually surprised that there is also a good number of operators that just don't show up at all in terms of playability. So if you are a anime only fan who thinks, oh, this character might be cool, maybe look into that just to see if that character actually is in the game in some capacity. So yeah, Arknights, Perish in Frost, love the name and really hope that the quality of the anime does continue on with this new season. But Matt,
Hmm.
there are two other 2023 anime that have been announced that I kind of want to briefly mention. And on December 13th, I'm in Love with the Villainess was announced for a 2023 release alongside a teaser visual and trailer. Yu Serizawa will star as Rei, and Karen Nanami will star as Claire. Matt, I'm in Love with the Villainous is a ongoing Yuri manga that has the isekai trope of, hey, I'm a office woman who has been transported into a, you know, isekai scenario. This time it is her being transported into and being reborn as a student in this prestigious high class school with that
Hmm.
magic.
Hmm.
So I think one of the things that was discussed when this trailer and the teaser was announced where was that the visuals from the manga aren't, you can tell that this is a anime adaptation, but the art style, while kind of the same, it isn't exactly one to one to the manga. And Matt, this is something that I wanted to ask you about. As a manga
Hmm.
boy, when something has a anime adaptation announced, how do you feel when the art isn't necessarily one to one, where all the same beats are hit, but you can definitely tell that it's a different artist working on it?
I feel like that's just a growing, not a growing pain, but like a common issue when it goes from manga to
Right?
anime.
Yeah.
And I feel like at some point you can't really do anything about it. The thing I hope for when I run into series like that is that I just hope that the art style that they end up getting in the anime is good.
Right. I think that's all you can hope for.
Hmm.
But Matt, we're coming up to 2023, and I wanted to do a check in with
Okay.
you. Matt, it's 2023. What do you think of the state of 3D anime? And is it something you're into, or is it something that, you might be kind of put off when you see that a new anime you're excited for is in that 3D style?
I think it depends on how they're doing it. If they're trying to too roughly integrate it with 2D, I'm not really that into
Yeah.
it. But if they can like style it okay, I feel like I'm better with that now. I think one of the biggest like shocks for me, actually, just going back to the anime art style changes, was I don't know if you remember this show. It's called like Ajin, Ajin.
Right, right.
Like that had
Yeah.
that was the first like manga to anime transition I had where it was a fully 3D anime instead of just something like where they were doing 2D but they were masking like some 3D so that it looks 2D. But that one was like a wild one, and I think ever since that one, I've gotten a lot better about just kind of accepting 3D anime for what it is.
Yeah, I remember, I think even like back in like 2019 when I was talking to Tiger Bear, I know long time Mistake Zone friends will recognize that name. And he was talking about how, currently all the different 3D anime that he's watched or currently being produced wasn't really that great. And it was an, instant turn off for him. But it has been a few years now. So I'm really, I have watched a few anime here and there that do the 3D thing that it has worked relatively well. And I guess with time, that's obviously going to get a lot better. So I'm not that averse well, I never was in the beginning, but something like, I think it was Zombieland Saga. I remember one of the final episodes of season one when they did some of the 3D stuff. That was a bit jarring for me, but again, yeah, it's something that when something is fully in 3D, or at least, again, trying to mask itself as a 2D animation, even though it is 3D, it's something that I'll raise my eyebrow initially at, but like I don't mind ultimately in the end. But Matt, another 2023 anime was announced, and I feel like I have to bring this up because my relationship with this manga. Back in October, Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable was announced to have a 2023 release. One of my favorite seiyuu, Ayane Sakura, will star as Minami Fuyuki. And Matt, Matt, you know how every chapter of Super Kawaii Gairu is what I've referred to it in our chats. And Matt, this is my recent example of, yep, I still hate harem, like media in general. And I don't know, when I saw Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable having an anime adaptation, one, I immediately thought, of course, it's having a adaptation. But at the same time, I feel like with all the different chapters, all the girls trying to vie for Shuki or whatever the male protagonist's name is, and how he handles those relationships, Matt, I don't know how much longer I can deal with the dense male protagonist. I know that's a staple of the harem anime or the harem genre as a whole, but Matt, sometimes I can't deal with it. And super kawaii Gairu or whatever is really pushing it. At least I'm hoping it's the home stretch now, and I'm going to see the end, tag eventually. But that the last few chapters, especially this last arc, have pushed me to the brink, and it's me going to you and Subin asking, who wants to read this? Obviously I do, because I'm still reading it, but like, I don't know, Matt. Hey, Matt. How's Rent a Girlfriend doing?
I don't know. I don't read that anymore.
Yeah, Matt. It's 2023 and I still hate harem animes. Matt, I don't know if you know this, but I think that We Never Learned did it right.
Yeah, they did. Jared, did you ever end up watching the QQ movie?
No, not yet, Matt. Not yet.
Damn.
I feel like, well, again, a peek behind the curtains, Matt. We'll need to start recording some episodes in advance with the holiday season coming up. We've been throwing around some ideas, but Matt, what episode should we do? Should we watch the QQ movie or should we finally continue and watch Tokyo Drift?
Oh man, I'd be down for Tokyo Drift.
Okay, we'll figure out our holiday schedule, but Matt, I love me some Ayane Sakura, but I don't think she could make me want to go rewatch Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable, but
Hmm.
who knows, Matt? Maybe in 2023 that will be on the mistake zone.
Oh,
So, Matt,
yo.
speaking about beating myself up over Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable,
Hmm.
I've been beating up some people in Midnight Fight Express. Matt,
Hmm.
as you know, this was a game that came out back in September, one of my anticipated games of 2022. And
Yes.
unfortunately, there was a bug where I couldn't actually play it unless I changed my Xbox avatar pick, which I wasn't going to do.
Did you cave, Jaren? Did you cave?
No, it's been 3 months, Matt, and the game has saw a number of patches, and finally, I have finally been able to play some Midnight Fight Express. And Matt,
Nice,
it's
nice.
actually a game that I have been really into just because, you know me, Matt, I love me a good beat 'em up game. And there are a lot of different aspects of the game that speaks to just general gaming sensibilities that I'm a fan of, but also just basically video game things I'm a fan of. But to kind of start off, Midnight Fight Express is a isometric beat 'em up that utilizes freeform combat that people associate with the Arkham Asylum games.
Hmm.
You basically blend together punches, parries, environmental attacks, and weapons as you chase high scores for the level, while a pretty simple narrative sets up why you're moving from different location. But Matt,
Hmm.
as we've been playing video games our entire lives, and how have you been, or how do you actually like the free that free form combat that was popularized by the Arkham games? We've seen it in Sleeping Dogs. We've seen it in the some variation of the Assassin's Creed game, but or even Spider-Man, the recent Insomniac games. But have you been, or are you a fan of that free flow combat that, or of those games?
I kind of like it. I always found it nice just because I've always been bad at timing counters.
Right,
But I find that in those type of games, they give you usually a generous amount of like lead in to do counters properly, or at least like
right,
easily.
yes,
So I've always liked it for that, and I've kind of always liked that it is sort of mashy, but it's not like as mashy as like something like a like another like any other game where you're fighting against multiple people at once.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I've always liked it just for like most like those two major reasons for me.
Again, as someone who loves action or character action games like a Devil May Cry, like a Bayonetta games, I really do love freeform combat just because you can have really cool things happen without actually being that invested in the combat. That's not to say that freeform combat is simple because, you know, a lot of the late game Arkham Challenger rooms, for example, were really tough for you to get the high scores. But for the most part, I feel like with a proper free form combat, once you really get into the zone, you can make some really cool fight exchanges happen that
Hmm.
you might not have otherwise been able to do if it was more character action. But speaking about that generous kind of window, I actually really like the parrying in the game just because it is pretty generous, where the button prompt will appear, giving you ample time to press it. And
Hmm.
the same goes for heavy weapon attacks as well, where a character will briefly, or the game itself will briefly slow down, allowing you to react accordingly with a roll or a dodge or even a weapon hit. But considering that the game isn't really strict in terms of timing in that way, it does allow for some really impressive moments when you do enter, as I said, that Zen like zone where the combat just clicks for you. When it really connects and you're able to parry one guy, finish him off in time to catch a chair being thrown at you, throw the chair back, roll dodge an incoming heavy attack towards a guy with a knife, only to grab him, disarm him, kill him with his own knife, then roll back to the last guy to deliver a German suplex finishing move. Like, those instances are really satisfying. And I found that it took me a few, replaying the first two levels just a handful of times to really get it to click. But Matt, when it did click, it really clicked for me. And I know free form or free flow combat isn't really for everyone, but at the same time, when you unlock enough abilities through the game's skill tree, it really does come together to deliver just fighting game spectacle. I know, Matt, we think about the fight scenes in something like The Raid or like Old Boy, and I honestly feel like I do get moments like that when the right thing or when the right dominoes fall one after the other. You really do get some cool looking things, but yeah, Matt, it's an arcade brawler at heart where once you complete a level, it unlocks a series of challenges, which in turn unlock a number of different cosmetic items and even game modifiers that add or subtract bonus points to your run. And I know depending on some modifiers that you turn on, you can't actually complete certain challenges. So it is kind of a score chasing thing at the end. You know, there are some modifiers like, oh, everyone has a big head. Matt, remember big head mode?
I love big head mode.
Or all weapons have unlimited ammo when you hold it. But yeah, I think challenges can simply be get a number of kills using a weapon or use a boss's weapon against them, do a number of environmental kills, that sort of thing. And that kind of brings me to my annoyance where some of, let's say, the environmental kill challenges, for you to comfortably do, you know, over and over, you kind of need to unlock environmental finishers and environmental grabs from the skill tree, where the game essentially it's not XP based, it's when you complete one level, you'll get one skill point to put in the tree. And honestly, when you're able to build your skill tree, I think it took me until level 10, around level 12, to have all the skills where I thought that freeform combat actually felt great. But again, that's essentially 25% of the game that you have to play for you to unlock enough abilities to make it feel like you're capable of tackling combat scenarios comfortably. And again, there's only 41 levels, I believe. Currently, I'm just past level 20, so halfway there. But honestly, when starting out, I do immediately recommend players go towards the parry tree to unlock the parry mechanic. And eventually you'll unlock things like, oh, disarm character when you parry if they have a weapon, and then work towards the grab tree to do environmental challenges more consistently. I get that this is a arcade game where replaying levels to do challenges are encouraged, but having to play a fair chunk of the game to have the necessary tools to do those challenges was kind of a bit of a bummer for me. But Matt, I mentioned that there are guns in the game, and I think the gunplay in the game is awkward. Basically, you pick up a ranged weapon, you aim with the right stick, and fire with the right trigger. And I don't think it feels good, especially when the hand-to-hand stuff is really solid. I don't use ranged weapons really unless I need them for the challenges, but this brings me to an issue I had when I hit around level 15, 16, and there were some levels where there were just a lot of enemies using guns, and I think that really took me out of the, that zen-like state, because when you're really focusing in your immediate vicinity, you don't see the characters kind of across the screen who are shooting you. And when you do get hit, it's one of those systems where you have your health basically is broken into 3 different health bars. And when you lose one bar, even if you play on the standard difficulty, you have regenerating health. If you lose a bar, you just lose that bar. It will only regen to whatever bar is active. But yeah. Another thing is some of the levels have gimmicks. For example, early on, you'll be fighting on train tracks and have to dodge trains, or you'll have to deal with a sniper that's following the action as you progress through the level. And I get that you need these environmental gimmicks to keep combat encounters fresh,
Hmm.
but honestly, once again, just like the guns, it's annoying because you need to keep them in mind and it can really break the flow of combat. And again, it's one of those things where in a game that can create such spectacle, some of the challenges are, oh, have all the enemies die by trains, or have the sniper that's following you accidentally kill like five people. And I think you need, of course, you need to have challenges like that for replayability, but at the same time, I don't know about you, Matt, but like those type of challenges to me kind of break what makes this game special
Uh-huh.
in, its free form
Hmm.
combat. And I don't know, Matt. I think again, it's the same thing with the enemies with guns, but another thing that's annoying, the guns actually do take a fair chunk of health when you are hit. I think two shots, regardless of the weapon, will completely deplete one of your um, health bars.
Oh, I
So that's
see.
kind of annoying as
Hmm.
well. Yeah. So again, it's one of those things where like it's a criticism of mine, but I don't know how much I'm able to like. Is that a valid one? Because that it is an arcade. That is what we're kind of used to from these type of games, and what encourages replayability. I know that one of the early levels as well was a vehicle level when you're on a jet ski, but honestly, that was really all range weapons where I just didn't like how that level controlled. But
Hmm.
yeah, Matt, other than that, the story itself is whatever. Basically, the basic premise is Matt, tell me if you've heard this before.
Okay.
One major baddie is getting all the gangs together to overtake a city,
Uh-huh.
and you, as a essentially, you're a citizen, a drone pops into your apartment, wakes you up because you're apparently a sleeper agent, and it's up to you and this drone to basically fight all these gangs and take down the big bad and, you know, actually liberate the city, stop it from, being taken over by these violent gangs. And I think it's told really kind of through flashbacks because the game starts off with you being interrogated by like two cops.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, Matt, take that for what you will. Not everything is what it seems. Is the drone really a friend or not? But
Uh-huh.
yeah, it kind of goes where you would expect it to go.
Okay.
Um, a nice thing I like about the game is that it's nice to see that there is a hefty amount of unlockables. As I said before, when you complete a level, you'll unlock five challenges for that level. And when you do one challenge, you'll unlock a new cosmetic, whether it be, oh, here's a new, you know, piece of clothing or tattoos or hair color for your character. Here's a skin for your drone that follows you around. Here's a modifier. But it actually does the thing where Matt, tell me if you remember
Uh-huh.
this. You can unlock boss skins, challenge skins, NPC skins for like even if you don't want to really customize your character, you can just take out like use the skin of any of the enemy or NPC that if you unlock it, or you can just use them. And I think that's a feature that I've really missed from gaming. I know in me, Matt, I love customization. I love gaming dress up, but for you to unlock different enemy skins and just use them, I thought that was a really nice touch.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure about you, but I don't recall like one of the last games that I remember doing that was like Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition for when you were riding your motorcycle. So I think that was cool. Uh, I think closing off, one of the challenges is collect five golden teeth.
Uh-huh.
Basically, golden teeth are essentially they're random drops from a character, and it's one of those things where since it's random, you could get all 10 of the golden teeth in maybe a handful of runs. But I know in my time so far, because I like to go back, replaying the levels.
Uh-huh.
I think the most that it took me was like 12 games one time, where it's sometimes hard to notice when it happens. Like it will fly out of an enemy, but when you have so much going on, you might kind of miss it. And it's one of those things where, oh, you do have detective vision, kind of like in the Arkham games,
Okay.
but not necessarily for puzzle solving. But if you hit your focus or whatever the state it's called, you can see, oh, I can interact with this enemy or this environmental item. I can pick up this weapon.
Hmm.
It basically highlights that kind of stuff, and it will highlight the golden teeth if it drops.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, sometimes, but like again, when you're chasing high scores, some of the challenges are, oh, finish the level in a certain amount of time. But to get like an S ranking, which is also something needed to unlock a unlockable for a weapon, it's a combination of clearing the level as fast as you can, having a high amount of kill variety, and then not taking damage, not dying, and what was it, having a combo of kills, because when you kill someone it will do a timer, and as long as you kill someone before that timer, you'll be able to reset the timer and your combo will continue. It's actually a pretty generous timer as
Okay.
well, but again, when you have guns at play, if you take too many gunshots your combo will break, so that's also a kind of annoying thing. But yeah, Matt, again, I'm only like halfway through Midnight Fight Express, but so far I'm really digging what I've been playing. It's a really nice spectacle, and it is on Game Pass. And if you do have a legacy avatar, feel free to download and play because it won't ask you to change it.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, Matt, based on what I said, do you think this is something you would like to check out?
I think this actually falls into the same, at least the way you're describing it, falls into the same kind of caveat for me as Jen, what's the name of that game? It's like a speed running first person shooter with cards.
Oh, Neon White.
Yes. It falls into the same category for me as Neon White, where I don't know if this is actually true or not. Maybe you can just clear this up for me, Jaren, but does it seem like going through, I guess, each stage once is like enough to like get value out of this game? Or is it like designed as a like time trial or like score chasing type game?
I think, well, I guess with a lot of beating 'em ups, it really does ask you for replayability. And I think what Midnight Fight Express does for me is it speaks to that aspect of me that likes to unlock different things, that likes to customize my character. So that's where I'm feeling value. I think if you were to run through it, a level could take anywhere from say 2 to 5 minutes
Oh,
to
okay.
complete. So at 40 minutes, I think you could possibly run through it, just kind of get, unlock enough abilities, see the story through. I think you'll get enough out of it, especially if you're just coming through Game Pass.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
But at the same time, if you want to explore the combat, if you want to see cool scenarios, and if you just want to tick off challenges next to that, I think that's where the meat and potatoes of the game comes from, replaying these levels to unlock different cosmetics. But you can do a one and done run, but again, I think the story is nothing to really write home about. But
Hmm.
I think if you were just to clear a level, unlock a new perk, and move on to the next one without replaying the levels, I think you'd be able to get enough. You'll be able to, I think in doing that, the combat will click eventually. But I think if you're not replaying to hone it down, you might be caught off with some of the scenarios where you might be overrun with guns. But
I
if
see. I
you
see.
don't mind that, I still think it's worth checking out, just because when it does click, there is some really cool moments you can see. But to end off, Matt,
Hmm.
one of my first skill tree unlocks was the finisher.
Okay.
Basically, on normal enemies, you hit them twice, then you hold down LB to do a finisher. It's context sensitive depending on like what's happening, but this was before I unlocked, weapon finishers or environmental finishers, but just the base finisher. It was for normal enemies. For most of the time, it's a German suplex, Matt.
Nice.
And
Nice.
you know me, Matt. I love me a good German suplex. So it was really score efficient, but I love doing the 1-2 and then a German suplex. So good, Matt. If you're a fan of German suplexes, you can early game German
Nice.
suplexes
Nice.
for
Nice. Nice.
sure.
Nice. 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 Nice.
But yeah, that was Midnight Fight Express. Something I'm finally glad to be able to play through. And yeah, I plan to finish it eventually. But yeah, Matt, that's everything for me this week in the mistake zone. And Matt, another, not necessarily one of our beefier weeks, but a good week nonetheless. I want to thank you, as always, for joining me this week. I want to thank all our friends out there for listening to us as well. Matt, I want to thank Pikachu.
Yo, same.
I want to thank Ash and Misty and Brock.
Same.
Matt, I want to thank unlockables and games. I like to thank being able to play as NPCs. I want to thank Ayane Sakura. Matt, anyone you want to thank?
Yo, I want to pre-thank our boy Roy.
For sure, for
There you
sure.
go. Hope he holds up in Pokemon.
Shout out to Liko as well. Hopefully we can pretty big shoes to fill, Matt. Pretty big shoes. But Matt, that has been the Mistake Zone for yet another week. Can you please take it away?
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of collector's editions with games.
Oh no.